Okay, hello everyone. Good morning. Hope everyone's doing good. Okay, thank you for attending the COE's College of Engineering's virtual session on engineering and economics double degree program. So for today we have three speakers with us. I mean four actually. So firstly we have our associate professor Andy Kong here. Yes. Then we have James. Hi James. We have Jessica. Hi, Jessica, and Chevy here. Okay, so they'll be sharing with us their experience as double major students to us today. I'm Ashwata. I'm from the School of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering, and I'll be the panel moderator for today's session. Okay, just a quick announcement that kindly submit any of your questions or queries that you all have into the chat function. So we'll address them then and there. So let's start. Firstly, I would like to hand over to Prof. Andy to say a few words.
Hey, hi everyone. It's great to meet you guys virtually. I think we have quite a number of participants. I think there are more participants coming in as we speak. I think one of the main thing which I want to cover is why are we having this session? Now, over the past many years, we have come across participants or applicants, should I say, who really wants to understand more about not just engineering, but the concept of why is there a need to broaden, your training. Now, this is where the double degree, second major in business, second major in other, forms will come in. And as we, move towards a world of, being uncertain, being interconnected, there is a great push for students who are not just well versed in a single degree domain area, but also have a flair and better understanding of how things are being interconnected. This would imply that the next generation engineers will need to be well versed in business, well versed in econs, well versed in perhaps even psychology. Okay, so today I'm very happy to be able to invite three student panelists who will be able to share more of what they do and why they choose a double degree program, so that you can actually have a better insights about the curriculum. And the second motivation of organizing this virtual session is really for you to gain an insight into what's the workload faced by students, panelists, members. Okay, I can see smiles on James' face. Yeah, you'll be surprised. Okay, and I think a lot of general public. And also the applicants have this misconception that, oh wow, if you are doing a double degree, you would not have time for anything else. And I think this is a very nice platform for us to clarify some of your doubts with regard to workload. Okay, good. So Ashwata, hand over to you.
Okay, so we'll just go short round of introduction. So how about you start from Chevy? Just introduce yourself. Are you from JC or Poly previously?
Great. Hi, I'm Chevy. I'm currently pursuing a double degree in civil engineering and economics. I previously studied at Niam Polytechnic. I took a diploma in international business. And yeah, so
So it's like totally a different major that you changed to in uni,
yes, so
right?
in poly, I took a diploma in international business, so there's more of the business aspects. So
Mm-hmm.
from there, I actually really enjoyed the economics aspects of my diploma. But I also really felt that I wanted to study engineering as well after doing my internship in poly. So I
Mm-hmm.
felt that I should just apply for both and see where it goes. And then here we are today, where I'm taking a double degree in civil engineering as well as economics.
Okay, nice. Okay, how about Jessica?
Hi everyone, my name is Jessica. I'm taking a double degree in economics and computer science, and I'm currently a second year. And I came from RJC, yeah. And okay, other than academics, I'm currently participating in judo, an active member, and I'm also a part of PHP, the Peer Helpers program.
That's nice. Okay. James, intro
Yeah, hi
yourself.
everyone. So I'm James. A bit about myself. I'm currently studying chemical engineering and economics as a year 2 student. Aside of that, I'm also the captain of NTU's aquathlon team. Before uni, I also came from RGC where I studied PCME. Yeah.
Okay, nice. So, how about Chevy? Any CCAs and stuff? 'Cause the others two, the other two shared.
Yeah, so I'm the director of external events in Economic Society. So basically, we look at how we can organize events for students to help them increase their understanding of events, understanding of economics. But we're looking more external focus. So we look at inviting more companies over for speaker series or those kind of events. Yeah.
Something related to your degree itself, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So, like, how are your grades going? It's like as a double um major student. Double, yeah. How's like your grades going? Like academics? How do y'all find it as like double major students?
I think taking a small dip now.
Small-
Yeah, started out well in year 1.
Yeah.
Year 2 is usually the stress period, but then year 3, year 4 should be okay again.
Hopefully that's the plan,
Yeah.
Hey, just one question, right? Let's talk a little bit about curriculum, okay? Now, you do take like, since this is a double degree, right? So you have like your core engineering degree, and then you have your second degree in economics, right? Are the grades, segregated into like 2 GPAs?
Yeah,
Or
so
do they
we actually
combine
have
everything?
we actually have 2 GPAs. So one is for your engineering degree and one will be for your economics degree. But actually both will usually tend to be quite similar because basically the same modules usually will be counted for it. There's a more detailed breakdown I think that you can find on the NTU's website because it's a bit complicated. Yeah.
So which GPA will y'all use when like applying for further studies or work? So which GPA will y'all put on your resume or something? Since y'all have two, any idea about
Better
that?
one, of course, put the better one, right?
The better one, yeah.
What do you
Okay.
put? Yeah, what do you put? James or Chevy?
For myself, so basically how for now my GPA is calculated is basically, so for NTU you have your core curriculum and then you also have electives, but for now my electives from either side actually, so for my civil engineering degree my electives are actually my core modules from economics, and then for economics my electives will be from civil engineering. So in year 3 and year 4 this will change, but for now they are both the same. So my GPA actually for both degrees currently is identical, but this will change in year 3 and year 4. But for now it's the
Right.
same. So I submit the same GPA.
Right. So this is where instead of doing 2 degrees in 8 years, you manage to squash it down to 5 years, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically that's about it.
Yes. Okay, great.
Actually, we had a question. Someone wanted to know, can you do your double degree in 4 years?
Yeah.
Right,
Okay,
yes.
so this one actually, right, there for the double degree program, there is a minimum residential period. So the earliest you can complete it is 4.5 years, which
Okay.
is possible, but it's basically you will have to overload every semester. It's currently what I'm working towards. Can
You
be
are
done
working
now.
towards it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm trying to grad in 4.5 instead of 5. Can be done, but
No wonder you look so stressed.
yes.
even though you look like a gamer,
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's talk a little bit about the workload, shall we? How many
Oh.
hours do you spend? I mean, let's start with a single degree program. Ashwata, how many hours do you have, per week, say for example, lectures?
In terms of lectures and so on.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So currently I take 23 AUs.
Uh-huh.
So meaning 23 hours, right? Because one AU is like equals to 1 hour,
Mm-hmm.
something
it's
like
about-
that. So
Mm.
yeah, so yeah, it's around 23 hours, but then that's quite a lot because you've got your tutorials that you have to work on, and then lectures like you have to keep revising again, or like you have to go to a library to refer. So it's quite a lot, I think. 23 AUs already. It seems like 23 hours per week just for lectures and tutorials, but the time we spend afterwards it does also matter. So it is quite time consuming. So I don't know. This was single degree. Don't know how is it for double major students.
Yeah. Jessica, how many hours do you do?
Actually, this semester, I'm not taking too many AUs, so I'm not taking 18 AUs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Actually, I find that it's not too different. Like the workload, like the number of AUs I take per sem is not too different from my friends in single degree, like my computer science friends in single degree.
Mm.
Yeah, because I guess I'm not cramming stuff in, like I'm not gonna graduate in 4.5 years probably. Yeah,
Mhm.
I plan to take things a bit easier, so we just follow the usual schedule and graduate in 5
Right.
years. Yeah, that's why my load isn't too bad comparatively, I think.
Okay. All right. Chevy?
I think for myself, I'm also just gonna take it easy. I graduate in 5 years, so I'm not cramming too much. So I typically take around 20 to 22 AUs per semester. But I think the difference is in terms of intensity, because if I compare to my other friends in civil engineering, because all of my modules are basically core because they come from either degree. So I think it's the same for also James and Jessica, but basically I cannot exercise my option to SU any of my modules so far. So for those who are unaware, is basically I can't exercise my option to declare whether this for the module to be graded as either satisfactory or unsatisfactory. So basically sort of pass or fail. So in terms of the intensity, because all of it for now is a core module, so I think I spend more time on that. But overall, I don't think it's much more difficult compared to a single degree comparing to my friends. They take almost all. I'm comparing to my civil engineering friends. They take almost all the same modules that I take, whereas maybe they take for now they're taking one additional civil engineering because I'll take that next year. But I take 2 econ, so technically I'm just taking one more module than them.
Right. Not too bad. Not too bad. Right. James, you want to graduate so soon? You don't like NTU or what?
No, start working first.
Start working
get more
first.
money, get more
Earn
money.
more
Must
money.
be practical.
Yeah.
So I
What?
think
What?
for me,
Yeah.
I think for my workload it's a bit of a special case because I average around 24, 25 AUs. Last semester and this semester I'm taking 26 AUs.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, I normally overload from my. So actually, there's like the suggested study plan given to us by the school. I normally tend to add like 1 or 2 modules per semester. So basically, I'm moving my year 5 Sem 2's modules up earlier and shuffling things around more.
Wow.
So
Like, won't
yeah,
you have like prerequisites for year 5 models? Like you're taking them way ahead. So won't you like have prerequisites for those year 5 models
so
when you're
actually
putting forward?
for the double degree, what happens is for the first 4 years, our priority is actually the engineering modules. So by the end of year 4 Sem 2, we have completed our Bachelor's of Engineering together with our engineering peers. And then the year 5 is meant to supplement your economics degree. So in terms of economics modules, actually most of them, the prerequisites, you would have cleared it by the end of year 1 if you're a pure economics student. So depending on which engineering faculty you come from, some of the prereqs you might end up clearing perhaps in year 2 instead, or even later, depending on how you wish to structure your study plan. But for this sort of matters, I think it's more helpful if perhaps those incoming, you all can find seniors in your own faculty to try and see if they have any tips, because this does differ from faculty to faculty.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to switch gear a little bit and move on to the content itself. What do you learn in econs? Maybe if you can, if I were to ask you to select one econs course which you have taken, and if you can relate the importance of this to your base degree, that would be great. So anybody want to start first?
I guess I can start first.
Okay. Yes, Jessica.
Okay, sorry, just to clarify, you're asking us to kind of introduce one of
Yeah.
our econs modules.
Yes, introduce one econs module. And why do you think, given that you come from School of Computer Science and Engineering, why do you think having this knowledge is important for your career?
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the modules that I'm taking this semester in terms of for econs is public economics. I'm actually quite happy because it's one of the econs modules that I can choose. Yeah, rather than like it being a core module. Yeah, so it's actually teaching us about firstly like the kinds of failures that our free economy, like our free market can encounter, and all the policy tools that the government can employ to kind of fix them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like economics from a very governmental standpoint. Yeah, and then I think it's interesting because like you can kind of see like while certain policies aim to like kind of solve certain problems, you can see it kind of backfiring in certain other areas. Yeah, so it's like you need to consider policies from a lot of different angles. Yes, I think that's why it's important. And then in terms of like career wise, if you ask me about how, if I'm pursuing like a purely computer science job, I don't think it will benefit very very much actually. Like only maybe in terms of mindset, like
Okay. Well, I can think of one example though. Do you know of the recent Facebook and Australian news kind of debate going on?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm aware of it. Yes.
Yeah, you are aware because
Yes,
you come
yes.
from Australia, isn't it? Yeah, I think there are a
Poverty
lot
part,
of
yes.
policies, in certain countries that will affect certain, engineering decisions. Yeah. From a computing point of view, certainly.
Just to give a little bit of background on that,
Yeah.
right? So you know how right now YouTube and Spotify, you have to pay for content, right? So the Australian government, in the first new law that mandated that Google, Facebook, in order to share publishers' content, so Australian media's content, that they would need to actually pay for it. The way Spotify and YouTube pays for publishers. So that is the story, and there was a lot of fighting back and forth between governments. Facebook actually pulled out of Australia, so to speak, in a sort of like tit for tat thing. But then I think they went back to the table and came back to an agreement. But I mean, the truth is the amount is not a huge amount. I mean, right now I think you all know that Spotify pays like 0.000 something percent for each for music or something like that. So I think the amount is probably around in that category. So yeah. I mean, that's the background, just if anyone was curious.
Yes. Okay, great. Okay, James?
So maybe one module I'm intending to take, I haven't taken it yet, would be Principles of Corporate Finance. So I think as the name suggests, it teaches you how companies make their economic decisions. So things like whether or not they should undertake a project, what are the relevant calculations done. So I think if you got to a company, these sort of decisions are typically made by the financial side of the team. But of course, as an engineer, especially for me, I'm a chemical engineer, so we deal with processes. So having a better understanding of the cost, like what are the calculations I need to make, it does help you as well as an engineer. So for example, the proposals that you present and all that can be more robust because you can justify, because when you go out to work, everything is about profit. You have to justify that any changes you want to make can benefit the company in terms of its profit. So yeah. I think that's one of the more practical modules offered by economics.
Okay, that's good. I mean, one example I can think of is just recently, right? You lose money when you produce oil, because there isn't any storage space available, right? So I think that's where knowing the economics of how things affect each other will allow an engineer to make better decisions,
Yeah,
especially when you go into management level.
yeah, definitely. I think the oil price one was quite interesting because yeah, it's a negative pricing only because of how it was traded. So it's like oils are traded in futures. So basically, if you buy now, you're actually buying for the oil to be delivered in like a few months' time.
Okay, great. Chevy.
I think one of the modules that I actually like pretty a lot was principles of econometrics. So basically, in this study, we actually studied the regression analysis. So for regression analysis, how it works is you try and predict a variable based on other variables. So for example, you try and predict someone's income based on his age or his salary, based on his age or his gender or something like that. So basically, why I like this so much is because it's actually very applicable to engineering as well. So for the study of hydraulics or open channel hydraulics, so basically, let's say a river or let's say a sea, when you're trying to build something like a dam or something over there, basically in hydraulics, it's very hard to actually predict how water will actually move or function in a channel. So we don't actually in engineering, we don't actually have a set figure. For example, at the center of the river is 3 times faster than the side. Sometimes we put a placeholder number that we found by trial and error that is maybe around 3.7 or it's around 3.2. So we use a placeholder figure for this kind of scenarios, and other scenarios we use another placeholder figure because so far we've not been in terms of engineering, we've not been able to define every single variable, and it's actually hard to predict and down to a certain fixed number. So I feel that it's very interesting when we study regression analysis because we're able to look at how we predict these forms of numbers based on a certain set of variables. And I think that's really interesting. And in terms of how this applies to your working world, basically, you can actually use either of your degrees in terms of, I think it's similar to what James mentioned, but when you approach problems or in terms of problem solving, you actually approach it from a much broader base approach. So because you have learned two different faculties, one being engineering and another being economics. So when you approach your employers, maybe they ask you to solve an issue or they ask you to, try and solve something or look into a problem, you actually can bring in some obscure knowledge from either degree and try and look at it from different perspectives, and perhaps that will lead to a better solution.
Okay, right. Great. Ashwata, Bess, do we have any questions from the participants?
Yes, like I have a question to ask. It was from the audience. So, like, what do you all mainly focus on? Because it's a double major. Double degree. Yeah. Sorry. So, where do you all like focus on? So, is it more on the engineering side or the econ side? Anyone can answer. Me, James.
Yeah, so I would say, like I think I previously mentioned already, your first 4 years, right, you'll be more focused on the engineering side. As a whole, you might say that you are more focused towards engineering because I think the crux of uni will be your final year project. And for us in the double degree, our final year project has to be our engineering one. So we don't have to do an economics FYP. I think we have the option to go for that, but it's a bit troublesome for us, and
We
I
can't do
don't think a
both.
lot of people want to do it. Huh? You can't do both.
Yeah, my senior tried to ask the school faculty if he could do both FYPs, but they didn't let him. Yeah, I think
Concurrently or in separate years? Because that might affect, I think.
in separate years.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, I
didn't
think
know
there's
that.
a good reason why you can't do both. Certainly, we want to ensure that you are well versed in one area, but there are ways to go around it. Okay, one way to go around it is to fix a project in your base degree program, that is an engineering degree, and then find a co-supervisor from the Department of Econs who is willing to co-supervise you for that. That's how to go about it.
And I think maybe one thing you might want to try also is there's an undergraduate research program, which is like you're attached to a mentor and you kind of need to work on a research paper as well. So it like might emulate the experience of FYP for you. Yeah. So you might want to try to take that in like and take on a more economics based project. Yeah, if you want experiences of FYP in both degree.
All right. Yeah.
There's another question.
Yes.
Yeah. I think this one's a specific one. Like this is literally what the person has asked. I've heard that it's quite difficult to cope with a double degree program, especially with chemical engineering. Is it true? Is it Jessica from chemical or James?
Oh no, it's
James.
me. So
Okay.
yeah, chem engineering can be hard, but at the same time, you have to ask yourself, what is it that you want? No? If you want first class honors, you want perfect 5.0, of course it's going to be stress lah. If you're okay with a second uppers, not so stress. You don't mind a second lowers, even less stress. So at the same time, it really depends on what you want out of your university life. Do you want grades, or do you value like networking, making connections with people, or you want a hybrid of both? So I think for me, it's really comes down more to good time management, so that I can have time to study both modules. Yeah.
One more question. So there's a double degree program and a second major program, right? So why do you all choose like the double degree program instead of a second major? Any like, do you guys consider that previously? Because this is a question from the audience as well. Chevy, maybe?
I think I can answer that because when I first applied to NTU, I actually applied through a double major. I was actually intending to take public policy and global affairs, and then my second major will be economics. So that was actually my initial application to NTU, which I got in. So, but then after I was in army, so I was considering more, and then I took the chance and I reapplied to take a double degree. So. But in that sense, I think the main difference is that for double major programs, both majors tend to come from the same school. So, for example, when I previously applied to public policy and also economics, so both majors are actually issued by the School of Social Sciences. So, when it comes from the same faculty, then I think what happens is that the curriculum that you learn tends to be quite similar in terms of their approach to the problem. And so for double degree, is very varied in the sense that engineering and economics are actually very far and they're not really very similar in any of their aspects. And I think James and Jessica they're really very far in terms of how they approach a problem. Maybe one will be more arithmetic, whereas the other will be more theoretical. So I think that's where the main difference is. What I've observed is that for the social science, for my degree in engineering, we tend to approach problems differently. And for my degree in economics, we tend to approach things from a different perspective. First, for a double major, since they are coming from the same school, I think the way you approach a problem is similar, but the way you answer it obviously is different. Yeah, because you try to you apply that same way of thinking to different majors, but for engineering and economics, it's actually quite far apart. So I think that will be the main difference.
Okay. Yeah.
You guys get to have more perspectives, think in different perspectives. Okay.
Let's not forget about the important question, right, on workload. Let me frame this question a little bit, reframe this question a little bit. What are your CCAs? I think that's the best gauge, to have a sense of, is life all about study, or what else do you do outside study? What's your CCA? James?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chevy?
James,
Shall we go first? Okay, why not you
Okay.
go first?
I can go first.
Yeah,
So
Chevy, yeah.
for myself, I'm the director of external events in Economic Society. So we tend to have weekly meetings. So you still have time for all those things. For myself, I would say that I tend to study more during the weekdays and less during the weekends because for myself, I stay in hall. So on the weekends, I want to go home and spend time with my family.
Mm.
So during the weekdays, then I'll study. I tend to sleep less, maybe 5 to 6 hours a day on the weekdays, but because it's purely a personal choice for me.
Mm.
So I'll sleep less on the weekdays, study more intensely, so that on the weekends I actually don't study much at all unless it's a test coming up.
Mhm.
So that's the way I prefer to schedule my studying. So on the weekends I have time to, let's say, walk my dog or go out with my family, eat lunch, and don't say I don't have the need to rush back home to say I need to finish my tutorial. So that's the way I like to schedule out my studying.
I see.
But I feel that compared to a single degree, that actually will be quite similar, because if you choose to finish everything on the weekdays, then
Mm.
yeah, you tend to be around the same number of working hours.
Mm.
So I don't think in terms of workload, comparing to my friends, I only take one additional module, so maybe 4 or 5 additional hours a week, maybe 2 hours in lecture, one in tutorial, and then 2 hours to kind of prep here and there. So
Right.
you know, overall, there's not a lot more intensity. Yeah.
Right. Just one very, very quick follow-up question. How many people do you lead in your society?
For myself, so I lead a team of 5. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, then overall, Economic Society is about 20 to 30 people. So because of the current restrictions, we are usually meeting on Zoom.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Jessica or James, who wants to go next?
Yeah, okay, I can go.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I mentioned I'm the captain of the NTU Aquathlons team. So I still have time for training. I train about like 6 times a week. Some
Wow.
days double session. So
Wow.
yeah lah, you definitely still have time outside of your lessons to go and do your own things. I think maybe the one drawback is that compared to your single degree peers will be that your timetables might not be as aligned. So for example, sometimes like they want to go for lunch after lectures or something, but then you have another lecture from economics to like rush to. So I think maybe there's like one drawback. But workload wise, I think
Mm.
again I think it's all just down to your own personal time management. If you manage your time well, there really isn't too much of an issue.
Mm. Mm.
In fact, I might say that at least for the start, right, you take double degree in engineering and econs
Mm.
might be easier than a second major in business at the start, especially for those who has econs background before.
Okay.
Because for business it's completely new, but for
Mm.
economics, if you go in with some rough understanding of what needs to be done,
Mm.
yeah, you're definitely slightly better prepared, I'd say.
Right. Okay. Yeah. My only impression of economics is just micro and macro econs. That's the only thing I can
Not
remember.
wrong, not wrong. That's what they learn in year one.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, even if you are taking, I don't know, close to 25 or even beyond 25 AUs, you still have time to train for 6 days a week. Amazing.
Yeah, can.
Right. Jessica, how about you?
Think CCA wise,
Mm-hmm.
I'm vice captain of the judo team in NTU.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 2 trainings a week, like 2 hours each.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then other than that, I'm part of the peer helpers program.
Mhm.
Yeah, so for peer helpers program, I kind of have like a duty as well. Like we have a small place called the Cody Hub, where like people can come to de-stress, and just play board games, or like if they're looking for someone to talk to, they can always talk to the person on duty there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess that shows that other than academics, I do have time for extracurricular stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and other than my core modules, like not core, but like my school modules, I'm taking part of the undergraduate research program that I was talking about. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it does show that like even for a double degree program, like you do have chances to explore things that are in your interest, like outside of school. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's my takeaway.
Yeah.
of the
Okay.
workload.
All right. Great. Any online questions? Ashwata, Bess?
So someone's asked, may I know how year one and module exemption work?
Yeah.
I think for this one, from what I know, the econs modules in year one, you cannot exempt them, even if you have, let's say, gotten a H2A and all that, because uni econs and JC econs would be somewhat different in that uni econs is more focused on the mathematical aspect of things, while JC would have been more focused on the theoretical. As for your engineering modules, about exemption, I think it differs from faculty to faculty. But I think most engineerings, there is the basic math mod, I think MH1810, that you can exempt. For poly kids, I think also depends on your module. Yeah.
Maybe if they take the same major, let's say poly, they did civil, then here also in uni they do civil, so maybe they might get exemptions. Is there a direct entry thing that applies to double degree? Sorry, yeah. Does it apply? Or double major?
Double degree.
Have you all heard? Yeah, double degree. Sorry. So have you all like heard anyone going to like? Is there a direct entry or something to this program?
Never
Just curious.
heard of anyone taking it, but I think and I don't think anyone want to take it also, because direct year 2 into an engineering typically means your usual workload is already like 23, 24 AUs.
Yeah.
And if you want to take on your economics module, it's the workload is quite intense.
Perhaps let me clarify this. If you are taking a double degree, it will be a 5-year program. There will not be any direct entry. Yeah. So in other words, for poly students, you don't start from year 2. If you want a double degree program, you have to start from year 1. Okay.
Oh yeah, and just to add on for the exemption question,
Yes.
I think not wrong if you're from JC, they kind of automatically apply the exemption to you. So it'll be directly in your degree audit, I think. Yeah, I think for poly sometimes you need to take a test. Yeah, to test that, like to show that like you kind of have the knowledge for this module. And you can exempt it. I think it's a certain module.
Yeah, but anyway, I think this one, if I still remember correctly, they'll send you an email about it, like at the start of the school sem or before the school starts. So that one, they'll probably send an email with more instructions.
I think I think his question is mainly for people coming from polytechnic, and unfortunately I cannot answer because my course is non-related. But I think for polytechnic, I've still also never heard of exemptions, but I think you could be exempted maybe 1 or 2 modules, but in terms of entire year off or semester, I don't think there will be such an exemption, but perhaps 1 module you can exempt. I think that's basically about it. Yeah.
Okay. So Chunwei, hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the
Yes. We have another one. Oh, for the guys, how do you find modules such as mathematics after your initial service?
Word
Like
of
after your gap.
advice, don't throw away your graphics calculator. It's a very good thing to have on hand. But I think, that's why there's a common mathematics module. I'm not sure whether all engineering students have to take it, but most do take it. MH1810. So it sort of serves as a refresher. I didn't take the module, but from what I heard from my friends, it's quite similar to your JC H2 math. But you can choose to exempt it if you want. But I think if you know you're rusty, then you probably have some downtime before uni starts. You can take the time to revise a bit now. Yeah.
Perhaps I can jump in over here. If you guys have heard about this bridging program, right? So after national service, or just right about before coming into NTU for the NS folks, NS guys, you will receive an email, asking you to attend some of the refresher courses.
Yeah, I've attended one myself too for math and physics.
And maths and physics. Okay, so it's not
Yeah.
the NS lah. So that's actually quite useful, I guess, Ashwata.
Yeah. It was so the professor went through all those like basic concepts, topics. Then when I took the MH, I think 1810, yeah. So it was much more easier, like because I'm sort of ahead of from the others,
Yeah.
So yeah, it was useful.
Okay, that's good.
I think if I could
okay.
jump in and answer
Yes.
Bing Han, I think. Yeah. So basically for myself, because I come from Polytechnic, right? And the MH1810 Maths 1, the equivalent is to actually bring you up to standard to a H2 for JC. So actually my mathematics, the highest, if I can call it so-called qualified, my highest qualification was actually my O levels. Although I did take additional maths modules in my Nanyang Poly. But so actually for myself, it's about it was close to actually 5 years of not touching mathematics. So you need to be, if you're really rusty, you need to be willing to put in the work to bring yourself back up to standard, because it's quite fast paced. So definitely attend the bridging, that will help you. But be willing to put in the work if you don't really understand concepts, because your peers from JC, they for example, if they look at it again, they'll have seen it already and probably attempted it with a lot of rigor in their junior colleges. But if you're from a polytechnic, you might not. But just be willing to put in the work, and everything will be fine.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, Bing Han. We have another question, isn't it, from Hui Xuan?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, just one more
Oh,
question
actually,
before that is
yeah.
econs, or maybe you all can address that.
Sorry.
Yep.
There's a question about
If I have never taken econs before, is it advisable for me to take a double degree with econs, or should I take it as a double major?
I don't think there's an option to take engineering with a second major in economics, right?
Yeah.
If you want a second major, it's with business, but I would say it's actually okay, because let's say your first semester, what you learn is basic micro and macroeconomics. Year 1, Sem 2, you'll be learning intermediate micro and macro. So I think the learning curve isn't that bad. It's quite okay lah. Because quite a lot of people in economics, they might not everyone has taken economics before. So in terms of starting point, should be quite okay, I feel.
Yeah, given that econs at A level is not a prerequisite for this degree program, that also goes to show that it is fine if you have not taken econs at A level, right? Yeah. Okay, good.
I think it really depends if you are really interested, because if you've never taken econs before, some of the concepts are really foreign, so it might put you off and you might feel that this is not worth it or something like that. But if you're really interested, you really want to learn, then if you're willing to just put in maybe an extra hour or two, or meet up with your lecturers to clarify concepts, then honestly it's fine. If you've never taken econs before but you really want to learn it, you can read the textbook, ask your lecturers, and honestly you'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay. Ashwata?
There's a question about internship though.
Internship.
Yes, like so the question's like, are there any significant differences between taking a professional attachment and a professional internship other than the duration? So if you all know, you could answer. If not, maybe Prof. Andy could help us.
Okay, I can make a preliminary attempt, and then we have the student, panelists to add on. Certainly, professional attachment is a much shorter stint. I think you guys will do the shorter one, right? The professional attachment, if I'm not wrong, for the double degree program.
No, I think we can choose.
You can choose.
Yeah, from the suggested plan I have is we can choose or.
Okay, right. But if you are doing a single degree program, then you have to do the longer version, which is the professional internship, 20 weeks. Now, what's the difference apart from the time? I think a lot has to deal with the time, because the longer time you have with a company would also mean that you can go deep dive into the exact problems, and you can see, certain aspects of the project from start to the end. It also means that with longer time, it also means that you can forge bonds, you can forge, collaborative bonds with the colleagues, so that they can, know you better as an intern. And I'm not trying to say that, if you spend 20 weeks for your professional internship, you will have an edge over, others who does professional attachment. It's just that for professional attachment, the timing is much shorter, but you do get a more, holistic experience from other, holistic training programs that otherwise professional intern will have to spend 20 weeks in one location. That's about the difference. I'm not sure whether there are any other things to add on top of this.
Yeah, so I actually just went to pull out the suggested study plan for our academic year. So I think one main difference is if you choose to do the shorter one for professional attachment, because that gives you less credits than your semester long internship. So what happens is you can then take like an additional 2 electives that doesn't have to be engineering or econs to get the same amount of credits. And it also seems to lighten your workload for year 4 because in your year 3 sem 2 you'll be taking modules.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yes.
And if I can add on, I think it's kind of industry based if you whether you really want to take up the attachment versus the internship option, because I'm also opening it up. So basically for the attachment, as what Prof. Andy has actually mentioned, is actually a lot shorter. So for myself in the civil engineering sector, typically they don't want interns of less than 3 months, because the problem with them is that for most of their projects it lasts years, and for 3 months they can't bring you up to speed before you have to leave. So typically, for example, for now I'm trying to source my summer internship, and basically a lot of companies in the civil engineering sector, they're not that keen on interns for less than 3 months, because basically you cannot see a project to its end. So I'm not sure and I think for the professional attachment, it most likely has to be a civil engineering one, or at least an engineering one. So in that sense, you might be quite hard for you to find a decent attachment as opposed to an internship, because just because of the length. And this might be industry based, but for a 6-month internship, you find a lot more companies are willing to undertake you, because you can learn a lot more, and you can actually see a project to its end.
Okay, Jessica, you unmuted your mic just now. Do you want to say something?
I think maybe you might already know, but just say like professional attachment, it will be carried out during your summer, and professional internship, you actually need to take up one school semester to do it.
Yeah.
So that's one key difference also. And I was like, personally for computer science wise, I think we'll have less difficulty like than civil engineering sourcing for 3-month internships, like for PA, for professional attachment. Yeah. But I haven't really looked into it, so so that's my input.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. Hope that answers your question, Hui Shen. Okay, any other questions from the ground?
So far, no. But since you all talk about internship and stuff, like how would you all like utilize like both your engineering and your econ like knowledge into work, or how would you all go about in the future?
So over last summer, I actually went for internship with Enterprise Singapore. So in terms of these, and I was in the quality and assurance team. So what we did was actually we looked at how we can use standards to raise the competitiveness of Singaporean companies. So for example, if you want to compare a Singaporean company to, let's say, one in another country, obviously first thing is we cannot compete on price. So one thing we're trying to do is compete on quality, and the way we do that is through international standards. So one thing that so far that they've been pushed quite successfully is the safety mark on your electrical devices. So if you look at most of your power plugs or any of those sort of devices, you will see that there's a safety mark, and most likely that's an international standard. And ESG was quite insistent on pushing that. So in terms of quality, we're trying to insist that Singaporean products are of higher quality. So in terms of what I brought to the team when I was doing my internship is that I was in that team. So as you can see, it's not really related to economics at all. And it's also not really related to engineering as well. But one thing is that having a double degree, it actually trains you to think, in a different way compared to your peers, perhaps. So the way I approach problem solving and giving ideas to the team, perhaps I give them a more broad-based solution, and I considered different aspects of it. But in terms of down to the nitty-gritty, I don't think there was much that I could apply specifically from a civil engineering degree, and there was nothing specific that I could apply from an economics degree. But having being able to think from two different perspectives was quite helpful. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I really like Chevy's answer. I mean, you talk a few times about training is very different. Trains you to think differently. Because of the different ways to train an economist and an engineer. I think there's going to be a growing interest, in hiring employees who have not just the critical thinking mindset, but is able to also broaden, the thinking so that you can look at a problem holistically. And I think this is where the double degree program and, of course, the second major degree program, comes in. If you are going to look at, I always tell my students, when you graduate, it's not just about the content, because if you talk about the content, what you're learning today will probably be obsolete in another 5 to 10 years time. Okay, the most updated content provider is probably Wikipedia or even Google, right? It is the skill sets which will bring you forth and allows you to really overcome the unknown challenges that the world will bring upon you. Yeah, so content versus skill sets, I think that there needs to be a good balance between them. Yeah. Okay, good. Questions on the ground?
So far, no, but there's this question where someone asked, they're not sure on what to specialize in. So can they choose a double degree program?
I mean, yeah lah, that's a good way to hedge your bets. You don't know you want engineering or econs, you take both first. When you want to find job, then you think again. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's a pragmatic approach.
Yeah, I think that was pretty much my thinking going into uni, like with this degree, with the double degree. Yeah, and I think like as much as you want to kind of combine both your knowledges in your future career path, like I think you should also consider that like taking, that you might have different objectives in taking the degrees in uni. For me, I'm not even sure if I want to, like, economics wise, why I took the economics degree was because I liked economics in JC. And like whether or not I got a job related to it in the future, I knew that I would enjoy learning it in university. Yeah, so I just wanted the experience. And whether or not I would enjoy an economics job, that's like kind of a different discussion. Yeah. So you also should consider whether you kind of want to learn about it, or like that could also be like a worthy objective for you. Like even if you feel like it might not be a job prospect for you. Yeah.
I mean, if you want some numbers, can see the latest GES. I think they finally included a category for double degree.
Yeah. So for those of you who are not very familiar with GES, it stands for Graduate Employment Survey. It has been made public, so you can just Google it and read the reports. Okay, good. I'm just mindful of the time. Bess, how are we doing in time?
We are just exactly 1 hour in from start. So yeah.
Right. So are there any last questions?
Not on the chat, not coming through in the chat. Ashwata, do you have the questions from the
Yes, I do have.
Yeah.
So there's
which is
there's one question I remember seeing in the poll, but maybe it's also from my own side. How about exchange? Because single degree students do it in year 3 or something. So do you all do it in year 3 too, or year 4? And then do you all get to do both your engineering and econ modules, or is it just engineering modules? Like, do you all have any knowledge of that?
It's COVID.
So yeah, with COVID, I think
Yeah, but-
exchange a bit hard. But I think before this last year, I was asking some of my profs about it. So exchange and when you take it is actually really up to you. Like most people just tend to go in year 3 because, to be honest, year 3 is like your harder modules are. Then they all clear overseas. I think prof should know. But honestly, there are people who even plan for exchange in like year 2. Because with things like exchange, it's really down to how you want to plan out your own timetable. As for what modules you are matching, you can choose to match both, but again, it's down to your partner university as well as whether there are any restrictions imposed either by your host university or by NTU itself as to which modules you'll be able to clear overseas. Because I think, yeah, you also cannot clear too many modules overseas. I think the highest usually is about 6 modules per semester, which can be lower than your usual double degree workload. So you probably have to make up for it elsewhere later, maybe in your year 4 or year 5. Yeah.
Okay.
And to add on, like, I was doing research on this also, and I was like, yay, because I have 2 degrees, I can map more modules. Since usually you look at past map modules between NTU and the partner university, right? So there'll be like kind of a set of modules that were already previously mapped, and like kind of you can kind of choose from them, and you will have higher chance of getting those modules there. Yeah, so I was like, yay, I can choose from more. So but for certain universities, they have this restriction that you can't take modules from 2 different faculties like in the same term. Yeah, for some reason. Yeah, so that was one restriction that I encountered. And then I also heard that it's better for you to plan your exchange earlier, like year 2 or 3. Usually if it's a 4-year degree program, they will aim to complete it by year 2 or year 3. And I think for us, we kind of have like the advantage of being able to take it for more years. Yeah. So I think this is because the possibility that you might match your modules. Oh, sorry.
Jessica is breaking up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I breaking off?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, you're back.
Yeah.
Okay,
sorry.
can everyone hear me?
Okay. I guess we will have to leave it there.
I think I'll continue.
It's very choppy at your side, but I think it's okay. Yeah, I think we get the idea.
Maybe we can just address the GPA requirements for double degrees. Is there any?
Yeah. They had some questions about what are the minimum grade requirements to
Actually, I
join a
think
double degree.
not Oh, to join that one, I'm not sure already. To join that one, I think you have to ask NTU admission site already. But to stay in the double degree program, if I remember correctly, is a minimum of 3.5 in both degrees. So it's not that high. Yeah, should be quite manageable.
Mm.
Okay.
I think for double degree programs, you if you look onto the NTU website, you will not be able to find the entry requirements, because usually the entry requirements, what they put is the 10th and 90th percentile, but in terms of double degree, there's not a lot of students. So if you put someone's 10th and 90th, it may be like one or two people, and you're not allowed to review like down to the exact student. So but in terms of the overall, in terms of getting in, I'm not sure, but if you're considering, you should just apply, then see where it goes. Because I think for double degree is more or less on a case by case basis. I'm not sure whether that's true, but as far as I'm aware, I think it's on a case by case basis, because they need to see whether you are qualified to take both degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and to add on a bit about just applying if you're unsure first, right? Because the thing is, if you apply, you get it, and you realize you don't like it, you can drop it. But if you never apply, you come in, you realize you want it, you cannot apply into it.
mm,
So, play safe.
yes, I think a lot of students, what they do, or should I say, a lot of applicants, right? What they do is they put a double degree as their first choice, and then after that, second choice, they put one of the degree, which they are.
Yeah.
And anyway, honestly, the double degree or even double major cohort it tends to be quite small, and sometimes it gets even smaller after year one.
Okay. So, as the saying goes, right? If you don't apply, you will never get. After you are being offered, you can still have some more time to think about it. Yeah. Okay. Bess, hand it over to you.
Okay, so I'm going to share this slide for you guys, for the audience. It's with regard to our feedback. So if you could very kindly scan the QR code and provide us with the feedback, that would be very much appreciated. Because we do need to know how it is how our sessions like this are actually helpful to our students, to prospective students or not. If you've got any more questions coming through, you can email us at outreach-coe@ntu.edu.sg. For if you've got questions about admissions for local students, it's adm_local@ntu.edu.sg. For students with international qualifications, it's adm_intnl@ntu.edu.sg. And of course, do follow us on Instagram and Facebook, because we've always post interesting content on there with regard to our students. So you might be able to get more out of that as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So how the panelists, do you guys any last words of wisdom for the students? James?
So I think like if you do end up joining the double degree program, right, I would advise you to try and find peers from your engineering faculty to, so at least like you have more friends with a similar workload to you, because with your single degree peers, like I said, timetable clash. If possible, you can also try to find your seniors from the same faculty and double degree. So actually for the chemical engineering and so for the SCBE side, I've started a WhatsApp group to add like the double degree juniors in now, in case they have any questions they want to ask us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you are doing your double degree, or if you got accepted in the program, there's 3 people here, James, Chevy, and Jessica, that you can look for if you got go into the same programs. Just one question: do you guys if are you all of you are in year 2, right? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, so
Yep.
does that mean that you get the same economics modules as well? You're in the same classes, or is there more?
So I think that one is down to your timetable scheduling.
okay.
The basic module should be similar, but I think in some cases it does differ on your faculty. So for example, I know my faculty suggested study plan takes intermediate macroeconomics in year 2 sem 2, but some other engineering faculties have it in their suggested study plan in year 1 sem 2.
Okay.
So, but again, yeah, timetable is flexible. You can actually just, see how you want to do things yourself lah. There's no hard and fast, I'd say.
Okay. How about you, Chevy? Any last words of wisdoms?
I guess for me is if you're considering between applying and not applying, then just apply because you never know what can come out of it. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't, but you just try because for myself, coming from a diploma in a non-related course, so I think I was at a disadvantage of trying to apply. So honestly, when I applied, I think I thought I wouldn't get in, but I still went in there and gave it my best shot. And honestly, I came into the course, and I think I'm happier here than I would have been if I was in my double major in public policy as well as economics. So if you're interested, then just apply for it. You never know where you might be.
Jessica, yourself? Any last words of wisdom?
I think for me, I feel like you should make sure that you, for both degrees, like you at least have an interest in, or you would think that you like studying, or at least you would like working at a job related to it. Yeah, because if you're just applying for double degree for the kind of the brand name of it, I don't think it's very worth it sometimes, especially for like my degree. There's a lot of my main degree, which is computer science. There's a lot of self-learning to do. So like I think if I wasn't interested in economics, I would have probably focused on single degree because it kind of gives me the space to self-learn into like other things outside of curriculum, which is very important in computer science. Yeah, so consider that. And also consider that like you'll have less room for taking UEs, which is like things like quite extracurricular. Like actually it's in your curriculum, but it's like quite like wider range of interests. For example, like some of my friends are taking like film photography or like watercolor painting. Yeah. Yeah, so those are some stuff that you should consider before entering a double degree. But there's also, of course, there's also the option of taking it and dropping it. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that it's more or less the end that brings us to the end. Is anyone else got any questions in the chat group? Is there any other questions there? No, I don't think so.
No, there are no more questions in the chat.
Okay, I guess then if that's the case, Prof. Andy, last words.
Oh, okay. Thanks. I think as what we can all see, in your generation, the world is going to be more and more uncertain. I think it is very important to equip yourself with the right skill sets in addition to your content knowledge. In my job role, I have had great opportunities to meet with a lot of companies, and time again, they are requesting for engineers who have a broad knowledge, not just within their domain. So it is extremely important to start thinking about it. And if you read the papers, everywhere they are talking about interdisciplinary training, interdisciplinary education. So this is where I think you should give this double degree program in engineering and economics a serious thought. Okay, so I really hope to see you guys here anytime soon. Okay, good. Guys?
I believe if there's nothing else, then we can end the session.
Yep. Great. Thank you so much, student panelists. Thank you, Ashwata, for coordinating this. Thanks, Ben.